Savory or sweet, hot or cold, so many ways to serve and eat pie. And no matter how you slice it, pie is delicious. At least we think so. But what makes a perfect pie? Should it be warmed up or left cold or at room temperature?
What about pumpkin pie? Spicy or more squash forward notes? These are the things that tend to keep us up at night, and it's pie time. We had a chat to clear the air.
Welcome to Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen, where food and health meet real talk and maybe a little friendly fire. Join our discussions on food, health, lifestyle, and what to do when you burn dinner.
It's not burnt, Mom. It's caramelized. It's all about how you look at it, and sometimes it may get messy while we're stirring things up.
I'm Janelle, the mother, professional chef turned author and soil scientist focused on sustainable food systems and regenerative agriculture.
And I'm Lauren, the daughter, lifelong food lover, professional private chef, and soon to be the next Julia Child. Today's episode is all about pie, my favorite.
I love pie.
Who doesn't? But do you love pie enough to eat it on your birthday instead of cake?
Yes, I do.
That's who this
Absolutely.
episode is for, all the pie lovers out there who prefer pie over cake.
But that brings us to the discussion of, is cheesecake pie or cake?
I don't know. This is a very controversial topic.
Is it?
One that I feel could divide people even more so than the political environment we live in today. And in my opinion, much more important of a topic.
Yes. Let's see. Because maybe cheesecake just needs to be its own category. Although it does kind of have a crust, although the Basque cheesecake doesn't have a crust.
Exactly.
So where do we fall on the definition?
Well, in theory, in general doesn't really need to have a crust. I think pretty much all cheesecakes could survive without one. But who doesn't like a nice graham cracker crust on the bottom of their cheesecake? But also, does graham cracker, I mean, I know that you can use graham cracker crust for other kinds of pies, like key lime or like other custardy cakes.
So if key lime pie is a pie, then that would mean that cheesecake could be a pie.
It could be.
Because it's got the cream and the egg
I
in
would say it's definitely more pie than cake. It's definitely more of a pie than a cake. But I guess cheese pie just didn't sound very good. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it could be the shape. It's straight on the sides.
Yeah. Does that then well, no other pies have straight sides as far as actually that's not true. Tarts have straight, well,
Yeah, they do. Straight sides, pretty much.
yeah.
Depending on the pan you're using. And then pizza pie. Hello.
Yeah. Is a pizza a pie though?
I mean, they say it's a pizza pie. And then you have ham pies. You have a ham pie, which doesn't have any descriptive type side. It's just like tapered pocket-like thing.
But it has the pie crust, so you can easily identify that that's what that is, you know? And
But
does the pie crust make a pie? Like, is that what categorizes pie? Is
Nope.
its crust?
Nope, because we already talked about the key lime pie having graham cracker. So you have the pie crust, and then you have many types of pie crust. You have the sour cream pie crust. You have
Sour
ones with cream cheese pie crust. Oh yeah, there's a sour cream pie crust. There's the savory type pie crust, and then there's more sweet type pie crust. More flaky versus more crumbly. Of course, that's a lot in the
Tart
technique.
dough.
Yep, exactly. Tart dough. Yeah. So I think it all depends on, perhaps it is just the thing that it has a crust and a filling, and that's what makes a pie.
Okay, then what about shepherd's pie? Because
Pie.
that in its name, it giving pie, but it doesn't have a crust. But
Chicken pot pie.
It's all filling. Well, chicken pot pie has crust and filling, so yes, that's giving pie, totally.
But maybe back in the day, shepherd's pie had a crust, and then someone just decided to make it without the crust. I mean, it has the potato on the top, but I don't know.
I
Maybe
feel like it wouldn't be
originally.
very good with a crust.
Listeners, if you know the history of the shepherd's pie and if you know if it originally actually had a crust, please do let us know.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of like a mincemeat pie, you know, but without like someone was like, maybe they just didn't have the ingredients for the crust. And they were like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to still make my
Call it a
pie.
pie. Using the
Yeah.
same container, so you calling it a pie. Because they didn't
Yeah.
know what else to call it. It's like casserole is just too big of a word. Pie is so much
Yeah.
easier to say.
I mean, but shepherd's casserole, I feel like makes more sense for what it is. But
True. Because originally, like pie, at least on the Western world anyway, was a thing that people would eat cold and they would be able to wrap it up and take it with them. It was highly calorific for them to be able to have as something that they would have in a lunchbox to take out with them when they were in the field and things of that nature. And then we kind of just started making things like chocolate cream pie and lemon meringue pie and all boatloads of pie.
and good old American apple pie.
But why is apple pie American apple pie? Because the French
Ask the
tarte
Google
tatin,
Doc.
that's like upside down apple pie, and they did it long before the United States was ever like a country. So I don't know. Where does apple
Okay.
pie come from?
Oh. Google says apple pie is considered an American staple due to its 18th century roots as a practical, adaptable comfort food for settlers, later cemented as a symbol of patriotism, home, and prosperity during World War II. Though the recipe originated in England, its widespread popularity, abundance of apples, and marketing as a wholesome icon for mom and apple pie transformed into a quintessential American staple.
So
So it
here's
had cultural symbolism during World War II. Soldiers often said they were fighting for mom and apple pie, transforming the dish from mere food symbol to a symbol of American home comfort and national identity. And it has colonial history. American settlers brought home apple recipes with them, or brought apple recipes with them to their new home.
and then Johnny Appleseed spread the apple tree all over the place.
I'm sure you like to spread it around.
Yeah.
As the fruit became abundant in the 18th and 19th centuries, became a staple in American kitchens. And
I see.
apples are adaptable and they're grown in lots of abundance here, and they don't spoil quickly, which allows for consistent use.
Yes, and there are apple trees that'll get apples in August all the way till like November.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause my friend has the Century Apple Orchard, which is a over 100-year-old apple tree farm or farm in North Carolina, and he has over 500 different varieties of heritage apples.
He does
And
have a lot of
so
apples.
we're kind of off topic of the pie, but the apple, if we're going to talk about the good old all-American apple pie, apples originated from Kazakhstan and then slowly migrated their way into Europe, and then the settlers brought it here because uh, mostly actually probably less for pie than actually for the cider, because back in the day, water was no bueno to drink most of the time, could make you pretty sick because it was long before filtration and wells and all of that stuff. And so they could have tankards of apple cider as their liquid. So predominantly the settlers were mostly running around half drunk most of the time. Even their children were drinking
That explains a lot of their
hard cider
choices.
as their beverage. And
Mm.
so it was the Puritans and I think, were the ones who basically began to abolish the whole prohibition and alcohol. And then they started tearing out all of the apple trees that were used for cider. So there was a time when poor little apple trees had a target on their back, mostly because it's linked to
Brings me to when the marketing and advertisers of the 19th?
Yeah, 19th century.
19th century. Yeah.
Well, the 1800s is the 19th century and
Okay,
the
yeah. The next one,
20th century.
the 20th century. Oops.
Crazy, isn't
Sorry,
it?
folks, it's early, haven't had my coffee yet. Of the 20th century, once the advertisers of the 20th century got a hold of the apple, they started using the phrase "as American as apple pie" in lots of campaigns, and it associated the product with wholesome American values, and so they
Mhm.
stopped using the apples for cider to get drunk, and they started using them for apple pie.
And there you go. Good old apple got put up to high. But here's a very more important discussion. Cheddar cheese or no cheddar cheese on your apple pie? I think that's a very New
Personally,
England thing.
it's definitely a very New England thing or a Canadian, I think, Canadian
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
But I've never had it that way.
Actually, apples and cheddar cheese go very well together.
They do go very well together, but I don't know about, like, in the same
It's actually
not
pretty good together.
well, yeah, I'm not denying that it is good.
Mhm.
I like apples and cheddar together, but not necessarily when I'm eating apple pie, you
It's the
know?
cinnamon. If it's very cinnamony and like a spicy
Yeah,
kind of apple pie, then no, it doesn't go. But if it's just like someone's apple pie that they made and they did not put much in the way of spice in, I think
yeah.
it's a better.
A classic, like, Canadian apple pie, or at least Quebecois apple
Mhm.
pie, does not have cinnamon generally. It's just
Apple.
apples and sugar, which, I mean, really lets the apples shine.
Mhm.
But personally, I like a more Americanized apple pie that has more warm spices. But that's what I grew up with.
What's your favorite pie?
There's so many good ones. I guess top 5 would be strawberry rhubarb, lemon meringue, cherry pie, pumpkin pie, and my grandma would always make this pie, not Grandma Jackson, Grandma
Right.
Barry. She would
Yeah.
obviously you knew that, but for the rest of the people
Right.
listening,
Yes. Your
she would
dad.
make this yeah, she would make this apple pie or not apple pie. She would make this pie called peach of a pie, and it had,
Mm.
like, sweetened cream cheese on the bottom, and then it was strawberries and peaches with
Mhm.
whipped cream on top, and I always
Mhm.
liked that one.
Mhm.
Has a weird name, though.
I mean, it's kinda like a
Yeah,
play on that, like, well, that's peachy.
yeah.
Peachy
And
pie.
I love a good chicken pot pie, but
Well, yes, if we're talking savory, oh, yeah, chicken pot pie all the way, baby.
no.
Mhm. Yep. Although my mom used to make this one, I think it was on the back of a Campbell's soup, tomato soup can originally, but it was a hamburger pie, and it had green beans in it. It had the hamburger mixed with the tomato soup as, like, kinda like the sauce. It was a pretty easy thing for her to throw together, and I did enjoy that one as well. So, childhood memories of comfort food, of pie type things was that, and then cherry pie is my number 1 favorite, followed
And then
by the pumpkin. Oh, yeah, pumpkin pie for sure. And then I made this, and I need to find or develop the recipe again, but when I had the in, I made a pie that had pears, rhubarb, and raspberries in it, and it was fabulous. The flavors just like the pie the pear gave it, like, the oomph and everything, so it gave it kind of the texture to hold up. Because of course, rhubarb's gonna squish down and you would need a lot more cornstarch. And then the raspberries kind of
raspberries.
the raspberries pumped up like, the tartness and the sweetness of, like, what a strawberry would do without getting the, like sometimes with strawberries and strawberry rhubarb is if they're not cut a little bit, they're kind of too big of a chunk of, like,
Mhm.
squish. So, I thought it was a absolutely fabulous pie, so I think I'm definitely gonna try to figure out a way to develop that one and get that one
That
written
can be
down.
your recipe for our pie episode. This
Yeah, for
episode.
the pie recipe challenge, which is actually going to be this one because 'cause we're gonna have
Yes.
pie. So we gotta figure out the pie. So maybe that will be the pie. And I do like a key lime pie, done well, and if we are going to classify a cheesecake as pie, yeah, a good either New York or Basque. Because recently I've been making a Basque cheesecake, which is so
I
easy
love
to do and
Basque
delicious.
cheesecake. I like Basque cheesecake because it's so like, you don't have it's not as finicky as like a New York cheesecake. You can kinda it's much more forgiving. So, and
It's
it's I like the caramelization of the outside also. It's very
yeah,
tasty.
yeah, definitely like that, and it's just kind of so rustic, it's pretty.
I like doing mine with a crust also. I know that we said it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily need it and it's not necessarily traditional, but it's good with the crust.
You can always put a crust on the bottom, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
In a New York style cheesecake, a lot of people are like, "Oh, no, it's got the crack." But the reason why you
Not
get
if
the
you don't
crack
tap
is
the
air
bubbles out.
bubbles. You gotta get the air bubbles out, but it's also in the stirring it, not whipping it.
Mhm.
'Cause that's really gonna create the air bubbles, but making sure that everything is at room temperature, so letting that
Mhm.
stuff sit out for, like, 4 hours until it gets that cream cheese is soft, and then it is stirring it up, wiping
And
off
tapping
the
it on the counter before
well,
it
and
goes
also just in the mixing itself, like, before you ever add the eggs, when you're mixing up the sugar and the cream cheese, you are doing that, and it can take 10 to 15 minutes, but that's where you're rewarded if you go slowly with the beater, like, if you're using a
and
KitchenAid
combine 1 egg at a time.
and 1 egg at a time, and then you do kind of tap it to get the air bubbles out, you will very likely not get a crack, and if you get a crack, it's a very tiny crack, it's not Grand Canyon in the
Also,
middle.
another step would be to, um, let it, like, cool down, turn off your oven after it's done cooking and let the oven crack the oven open a little bit, so that way it's not continuing to, overcook, but
Mhm,
that way it can cool down because the
mm,
temperature change of the very hot to more cold, and
mhm.
definitely don't put it right in the fridge after it comes out of the oven, you wanna let it cool down all the way to, room temperature before it goes into the oven.
And a water bath. Cooking it in a water bath, so you take the springform pan and you line it double with some good heavy aluminum foil, and then put it in another pan that is deep enough to have the water come up at least halfway up the sides, and you will also have a more smooth texture too, as
Yes,
well.
very
Yep.
creamy.
Mhm, very creamy. So what is your least favorite pie?
I mean, I like pecans, and I'm not saying that I don't dislike any pie
Mhm.
'cause I love pie, but I feel like if I was at a buffet and there was all the different kinds of pie, the pie that I'm least likely to eat would be probably um, a pecan pie or, a grasshopper pie or yeah, the
Yeah.
mint is just kind of weird to me, or, icebox pie, one of those that's just, using, some Cool
Cool
Whip
Whip.
or something like that, no, I'm definitely staying away from that, but yeah, I mean, I those would be the last ones that I'd get to. I probably wouldn't partake if there's all these other good fruit pies over here.
Yeah, I would say, like, pecan pie, if it had a lot of pecans in it, not just, like, mostly globby sweet sugar and then a
Yeah.
few pecans on the top, but it's so hard because the pecans all wanna float anyway, so
Mhm.
you end up with that, but I think if you did something that was like a combination of maybe like a French
Chocolate cream.
silk chocolate, like a French silk chocolate on the bottom and then pecan on the
Mm.
top.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. So you had a little bit more substance so you could get rid of the, like, big, huge, thick layer of that super sweet
Yeah.
yeah. Or, like, I like pecans in those little in the tartlets. That's, like, the perfect
Yeah.
pie crust to pecan pie ratio.
Tartlet.
Tartlet, the little itty bitty, like basically, it's like a little mini muffin pan, what you put the
Yes.
pie crust in then
I
yeah.
am for all of our viewers, if they're out there, there's a Friends reference. I think it's, the 1st season or something. You've seen Friends,
Oh,
right, Mom?
I don't recall that particular one, but I haven't binge watched and
Monica, she meets this restaurateur or whatever, and he's coming over to her apartment for a taste test, but he
mhm,
comes and she's made all these tartlets, and he
mhm,
comes over stoned, and then she offers him a tartlet, and then he just keeps on saying tartlet, tartlet,
because it's kinda sounds
tartlet.
funny off the
Yeah,
tongue.
exactly, exactly, but anyways,
So we're totally digressing on that one.
no,
But
it's
yes,
still in the category of pie.
And then the best ice cream I've ever had was Lone Oaks, which for those listeners who don't know, New Hampshire, in Rochester, New Hampshire, there is a great ice cream shop called Lone Oaks Ice Cream. They often make their own ice cream there for sure, but they often have these special flavors. And one time they had a pecan pie ice cream where they literally took vanilla ice cream and they just threw a whole pie in there. And so you got the pie crust and the pie with the nuts and that actually was perfect because it was like a reverse of pecan pie a la mode. It was a la mode with the pecan pie. It was good. They also did the same thing with pumpkin pie, which was equally as tasty.
Mm.
My least favorite pie has to be probably the chocolate cream pie that is made from a box of chocolate pudding and Cool Whip. Please, people. Like, if you're going for it, make the chocolate pudding
It's
from
not that
scratch.
hard.
It's not. It's
just
just chocolate
chocolate pudding.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah, just low temperature and you'll
Yeah.
be successful. Yeah.
Let's talk about the history of pie a little bit.
Okay.
Where does pie come from?
My guess is it's truly like a great way to preserve the fruit, to cook it.
Mm.
Like if you had fruit anyway, fruit pies anyway,
Yeah.
was because they're going to go and get moldy and everything quite quickly. Like you got
Yeah.
strawberries and you have that. And so a lot of people would cook it and the sugar helps to add as it's like a preservative. And so you can have that pie at room temperature out there for a while. That's my guess.
Okay. Well, let's ask Google. Okay. It says pie originated in ancient Egypt around 9500 to 2000 BCE, starting as galettes, which for those who don't know, a galette is like a rustic pie that has one crust that's folded over around the
No
edges.
pie pan needed, just a sheet
Yes,
pan essentially, and you just
exactly.
falutin it up.
Crust was made from ground oats, wheat, or barley filled with honey or meat. The Greeks developed pastry shells, which the Romans spread across Europe using thick crusts or coffins for preserving meat. It elevated into a popular sweet and savory dish in England, brought to America by settlers.
Cool. Okay. So
And
I was so not right at all, but I think
well,
it remained popular because of the way that you can use it as a preservative for
it says
things.
the word pie may originate from the magpie bird, which collects miscellaneous items, just as early pies contained a mix of leftovers. Interesting.
And then you have pi, the thing you need to calculate the circumference of a circle.
5'9", I can't go any higher than that.
No, me either. I'm definitely not going out to the whatever bajillion, trillion. They've never
Yeah.
found the end of digits. But yes, we are not recording this on Pi Day or putting it out. For those who aren't aware why March 13th is Pi Day is because it's 3.14. So
It does say, though, here that in the 16th centuries, fruit pies gained popularity as refined sugar became available. Queen Elizabeth I is credited with being served the first cherry pie. Yeah.
interesting. See, now I would have thought, like, if you're going to go, like, pie is American because you have, like, good old George Washington cutting down the cherry tree, I would think, like, cherry pie should have been the all-American pie.
That's
Cherry
true.
pie by our first president. But, well, that makes sense, the refined sugar thing, because trying to make a pie with, like, honey or molasses, there's shoe fly plot, blah, blah.
Mm.
Shoe fly pie, which is extremely hard to say apparently. That has molasses in it, I believe, or at least brown sugar.
And there's the Quebecois tarte au sucre, which is literally translate to sugar pie, and basically is just sugar.
And
Sweetened
eggs or
condensed milk, no eggs.
little
It's
sugar
literally
condensed
just
milk and sugar.
yeah, it's literally I've made it a few times now for my clients who are French Canadian, and it's a, like, family staple recipe for them, and it's literally just, I think, butter, sweetened condensed milk, and then, like, a ton of sugar, and then you
Wow.
just melt that together and you put it in the crust and bake it. It is quite literally a sugar bomb. So
Mm.
if you're somebody who likes just sweet things, no other notes of anything else, just sugar, this is the
Then tarte
pie
à
for
sucre
you.
is for you.
Yeah.
Choux fly pie is very similar to that. It's like I think
It's
it
the
just has egg in
Americanized
it.
version.
It's just, an eggy kind of pie with sugar, pretty
Hmm.
much. Now, one thing the Shakers created was, an interesting one is if you ran out of apples, you could use Ritz crackers, and you take Ritz crackers and you do everything else like you would in an apple pie, and it's got butter instead, so you pour butter
Oh,
over
with
it
the
with the cinnamon
crackers?
sugar. And the Ritz crackers, so the layering of the Ritz crackers once it's cooked kind of gives that same texture of, like, cooked pie,
Hmm.
apples. Yeah.
Interesting. Sounds
So
kind of gross.
yeah, I've never tried it. I've heard people say that you can't tell the difference, so I don't know. Maybe we'd have to try to
I think
find
I
out.
could tell the difference, but,
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Like,
guess
maybe.
and you never know unless you try. What about the whoopie pie? That's a pie we
Not a
haven't talked
pie.
about yet, and it's
Not
a pie not a lot of people know about unless you grew up in New England.
yeah, so those who don't know, whoopie pies are basically like a
It's like a cake burger.
cake. Yeah, it is. It's like you make the outside, the cakey part by mounding up and, like, baking it like a cookie, so it's like a very
The
soft
classic
cookie.
flavor is chocolate for
Yes, with
the,
the
like, cake part.
and then the inside is just
Whipped
like a
cream filling.
frosting,
Yeah,
essentially, but it has a little bit more, like, confectioner's sugar to it, so it's whipped
so
up
it's
in a
stiff.
way that's a little bit
Yeah,
more stable, so it's not a buttercream, and then that's it. So it's like cake on the outside, frosting on the inside, whoopie
yes,
pie.
and
Somebody
it
must
is
have
a
made it and went,
classic.
"Whoopie."
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't know.
classic American dessert,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah, so
pretty
now they're
good.
coming all flavors. You can get just about anything in a whoopie pie form now. I would say it's an
Exactly.
awful lot like in a New England version of the meringues. Meringues? The little cookies, with the filling in the middle that are French. Aren't those meringues? No. What are they called?
Macarons,
Macarons, that's
but
it.
very different because macarons are made using almond flour and are much lighter, much smaller,
Much better than a
much
whoopie pie for sure.
but a whoopie pie, it's funny that it has that name. I don't know where the whoopie comes from, probably
Yeah.
not from Whoopi Goldberg, I don't think she invented them,
No, for sure not.
but it resembles nothing of a normal pie
No. It's
and doesn't
definitely like,
normal pie.
yeah,
It is
no,
literally a cake burger or like a cake sandwich, essentially. It looks like a
yeah.
burger, but
It
instead of
does look
a
like a
meaty
burger
filling,
with
it's
2 top buns instead of a bottom and a top.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of beaten this, pie to mush now, so we should talk about the book that I would like to recommend for this particular pie debate or pie chat, and that would be the Pie and Pastry Bible by Rose Levy Berenbaum, and I have used this cookbook until it's pretty much fallen apart as well. Wonderful pictures, the photography in this book, although there's not a lot of pages that have photos in them. In the center, there's a group of kind of pictures of the recipes that are made in the book. If you are a person who likes to peruse with your eyes before you're going to make something. But I love this cookbook because there is so much information of the whys and hows to do something, all sorts of different kinds of pie crust recipes in there, and so many different types of pie and also pastries in there. So, like, for how to make a traditional, like, apple strudel and all of that. This is a definite cookbook if you are into making pies and pastries. This one is the kind of the equivalent of your Joy of Cooking for pies and
Is a
pastries.
strudel a pie?
No, it's not a pie. I know, yes, it has a crust, but it is its own thing. It's a strudel. And the Germans would debate saying on the Austrians, and maybe even the Swiss, but I think it's the Austrians and the Germans that mostly do the apple strudel. And you can do it with phyllo dough, but doing it traditionally is making a specific type of strudel dough
Which is quite difficult to make.
It takes some patience for sure, and you have to follow the recipe very
Yeah.
specifically to do it.
And you also need a very large surface area
Yeah,
and a
big
sheet.
table. Yes, you need a very large table, and if you can get some people to help you while you're doing it, this is a family
It
affair.
helps a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it helps. And having a tablecloth that has a pattern on it because you literally pull it so it's thin enough to see the pattern through the dough. Yeah, but we're
Or a
off
sheet works
topic
too,
again.
like a floral sheet or something like that, a bed
Yes.
sheet.
Yep, that works too. Anything that's kind of not just white, nondescript type thing. But yeah, this you can't go wrong with this, and we will definitely link the bookshops.org in the show notes for those who want to. And if you have a favorite pie or a least favorite pie or a pie that you are just dying to know more about, hit us up. DM us on
Yeah.
Instagram and all that. For sure.
Or if you have some, like, funky family pie recipes, please share. We love all pies, generally, most of them, so we're always up to try some pie.
Mhm.
And
So now,
now we're gonna
yeah,
have a pie off.
a pie off. Yes, we're going to have
Pie
a
off.
pie off challenge. And so that would be my pie. I'm going to send you that recipe for the pear and raspberry rhubarb pie. How about you? What are you going to
And
send me?
I'm gonna send you I'm going savory, not traditional
Mm-hmm.
sweet pie, but my pie is going to be a play on the classic tarte tatin, but instead of apples, you're gonna use onions, so it's gonna be like a caramelized onion tarte tatin, upside down onion pie.
All right. Can't wait to get pieing. We'll see you in the kitchen.
See you in the kitchen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. This week's thing is pie, but Lauren gave me a savory one, not a sweet one, and it is a play on like a French onion soup, and the tarte tatin, which is normally made with apples, but instead it is made with onions. So it has onions that are caramelized, and then it has a crust that has some Gruyere cheese in it. And I followed the recipe almost exactly as she wrote it. So let's give it a try. I first started by chopping up all of my onions. You want to chop them long ways, meaning from the stem to the top and not the other way around. That ends up having them all equal length. Amass all the rest of the ingredients for both the filling as well as the pie crust. The best way to do that pie crust is in a food processor. It makes it very quick to get that together. You want to pat it into a circle to ensure that you get it evenly dispersed. Then place that into some wax paper, wrap that up, and pop that into the fridge to wait until you're ready. So next it's going to be cooking those onions. You want to heat your pan up first, place your butter in. That will make sure that it doesn't really stick. That is the trick to being able to use a pan that doesn't have non-stick. I like to have my onions arranged neatly in the pan because you're going to tip this upside down, and so what shows at the bottom of the pan is what's going to actually be at the top of the tart once it's finished. So after you've arranged them, you want to start cooking them down over a medium heat. But what I did was also take some extra onions and cook them down that actually will just be plopped on top in a separate pan. So adding the remaining ingredients, putting in the honey and the herbs and the salt and the pepper in there to finish that getting all cooked down, and the balsamic vinegar, finishing that up. And then of course I amassed the rest of the onions that I cooked right on top of that pan so that I could have that all filled out. Next, you're going to take that crust from the fridge, get it onto a floured surface, and roll that to a size that will fit the top of the pan. The best way to do that is actually just kind of roll it out into a circle,
lift the pan up, kind of try it on to make sure it's gonna fit. And then once you know that's the case, give it a fold, get it up over onto the pan, and then place that in and get it all tucked underneath so that once you flip that pan over, it's going to look great. Then pop it in the oven to finish cooking. Get that crust all cooked. It doesn't take very long, maybe about 20 minutes. You want it to be a nice golden brown color. And then it's time to flip it. I would advise letting it sit for a little bit to make sure that that pan isn't extremely hot, but you don't want it to sit too long. Use some hot pads for this. Get that unloosened from the sides, flip it over, check it to make sure that you got all the bits of onion out there. It may take a little bit of fixing it, and then it is ready to serve.
Yep, it definitely is very much like a French onion soup, although the balsamic vinegar gives it a little bit more of a tartness than what you would get in a French onion soup. So a tarte tatin would have the apples, and that would have a little bit maybe of a sour. So I think the balsamic plays a little bit on a combination of that. We're actually eating with a lovely homemade potato salad. I would probably play around with it a little bit more to, I don't know, shush it up a little bit. And I might even cook it down with a little beef broth just to give it a little bit more of the French onion soup flavor, because that is one of my favorite soups. But I hope you give it a try. Great job, Lauren.
Making my mom's nectarine and peach pie with ginger almond crumb topping, I first began by preparing my peaches for the filling, and the first step for this is skinning and pitting the peaches. So to do this, I brought a pot of water to a boil, and I had my ice bath ready to go. And then I dropped my peaches into the water, let them boil for a little while to loosen the skin. And then once the skin is visibly loosened, you can transfer to the ice bath to stop the cooking process. This is the easiest method to skin peaches generally. I actually had a bit of difficulty with this because my peaches were not ripened properly. They were artificially ripened, and because of this, the inside of the peach was completely unripe. It was hard, and the outside were soft and tender. So because of that, the skins would not release from the peaches, nor would the peach flesh release from the pits. So yeah, my peach pieces didn't look as sexy as they could have, but that's okay. So after this, I set aside my cut up peaches, and then I moved on to making my pie crust, which I just combined all the ingredients in the blender aside from the cold water and blitzed it all together, and then added the cold water just to get it all combined. And then I set that aside to chill in the fridge before rolling it out. While the pie crust was chilling, I mixed everything into the peach filling, and I also went ahead and prepared the crumble topping, which I also used my food processor for because it just makes it so easy and quick. So once the topping and the peach filling was done, I rolled out my pie crust and inserted it into my buttered pie pan. Then I fluted the edges and made them look all nice, and added my peach filling, and then I added the crumble back on top, and then it was time to bake. So because I don't have an oven, I brought it over to my friend's house and baked it at his house. And then after it was baked, I brought it home and let it cool, and then it was ready to be enjoyed.
Well, that's enough cooks in the kitchen for today. But we'll be back next episode when we discuss the virtues of mindful eating and the benefits to your long-term health.
Before you go away, don't forget to like and subscribe, share, and leave a review, preferably 5 stars and 0 sass.
Speak for yourself.
If you're hungry for more, hit subscribe and follow us on Instagram at 2 Cooks Podcast. That's the number 2 Cooks Podcast. And until next time, keep it fresh, keep it flavorful, and keep the sass coming. We'll see you next time. Happy cooking.